Hello and welcome to another video. In this one we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tiny testing libraries and why you no longer need it because things have gotten better. Let's jump into it. We're going to be talking about testing and coverage today, and I'm going to make a small, very convoluted example, which, you know, doesn't actually... It's going to be a silly example that this is not how I would actually test or write this program, but it's to demonstrate the problem. We're going to install coverage and PyTest, and let's make a small little program. If name equals main, raise system exit main, parser. We're going to make a little argument parser, which takes wat, args equals parse args, if args.wat, print wat, else print no. Just a small branch in the program to show that there's some sort of coverage here. We need to import arg parse, and it prints nope, otherwise it prints wat. Okay, great. So we have our little program that we're going to test. This is not how I would test this. If you actually want to see how I would test this, video number 1 in the playlist goes over this. There's also a video that covers the library that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And this is sort of like a mini update to that as well. All right, so let's write our test for this. I'm going to use subprocess to test it, even though normally I would not. But for the sake of the video, we're going to do that. Test nope out equals sys.check output sys.executable, and yes, on Windows this is gonna not work because you're gonna get backend instead of backend. But we'll also have a wat test, and we're gonna ignore this test down here. This is just to make the output make more sense. So this is you can pretend like it's not here. We're just testing that the module itself can import. This is going to seed coverage, so it actually sees the module. Otherwise, it won't. And so these are our tests, and we're going to run them under coverage and see what it sees. Coverage run PyTest. I guess we need coverage erase first, so that we ignore previous runs. Run PyTest test T. Coverage report. Why did I call it test T? Usually I would call it T test. Anyway, weird. And I forgot to update the actual test. I was like, why is it failing? So I forgot this assertion when I copy pasted. All right, cool. Our tests are passing, but you'll notice that our coverage is pretty low here. I'm actually going to install cov defaults. This is not the library we're replacing here. This is just going to make our missing lines show up here. Coverage rc run plugins equals cov defaults. Oops. If we run this now. Okay, cool. So we can see that it thinks that lines 4 through 12 are missing, which is actually just our entire implementation of our program. We know that they are actually running because our tests do assert the output, but we're not getting any instrumentation for this. Now, previously, what I would do to make this work is I would install coverage-enable-subprocess, which is a teeny tiny little library. In fact, the only thing that this installs in the virtual environment is this coverage-enable-subprocess.pth file. I've done another video on pth files, so you can check that out if you want. But this coverage-enable-subprocess little thing here, all it really does is import coverage and run this coverage.process startup function. This is just to initialize coverage in the subprocess that's running. I believe by default it doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, it's still not enabled by default. You have to pass this environment variable, coverage process start, and this file, this points to the coverage RC file. So I've added this coverage process start pwd/coverage RC, and this will tell coverage when that pth file runs to initialize and run code coverage. And so you can see now that we run this, we're still not getting this working, and that's because we actually have several different coverage processes that are all clobbering each other. we need to additionally enable parallel equals true. This will tell coverage to write a bunch of different coverage files, and then we need to combine them at the end. Coverage combine. And now you can see that we have 100% coverage, and it's made the files disappear. So 19 statements, 2 branches, and 100% coverage. 2 files skipped due to complete coverage. Hooray, we have this all working. But it turns out that this coverage-enable-subprocess library that we installed is no longer needed. In fact, if I uninstall it, coverage-enable-subprocess, uninstall, and run this, it still works exactly the same. And this is really cool. And it's because coverage itself added support, and I believe it was 7.11. Let me see. Let me look at my, I made a change using this yesterday. 7.13. Okay, so pretty recently. When did that land? How late to the party am I? Release history, where is it? Release history, 7.13. Okay, last December. So I'm a little behind, but Coverage now ships a very similar PTH file to the one that I showed before. Theirs is a little bit different. They use, they check for the environment variables before actually doing the same process startup thing. Slug equals PTH. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, they now ship this path file directly, so you don't need to do this anymore. Now there are some weirdnesses to this, like for instance, the coverage machinery assumes that the working directory is dot. I hope this gets fixed in a future version. There's an open issue about it already. And so if your subprocess starts somewhere outside of your working directory, those coverage files are going to end up, in a temporary directory and somewhere else. Like they're not going to end up in a place where coverage knows about them and won't be able to combine them together. So sometimes you need to add a little bit of extra stuff to your coverage RC to make it work. The two things that I've noticed are source equals some reference to your working directory, and coverage or data file being this. So the default for data file is just coverage. So you need to tell it an absolute path. That way it knows where to write them. You don't always need this, but if your processes start outside of your working directory, then yeah, you're gonna need them. But yeah, that's coverage-enable-subprocess no longer needed because coverage does it itself, which is really, really nice. I'm really happy about this change. Anyway, hopefully you found this useful. If there are additional things you would like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.